Hi, I'm Jason Inman.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And we just got back from the Speed Force to give you a recap and review of The Flash Season 3, Episode 21, Cause and Effect. And if you haven't watched tonight's episode, you might want to come back later because there's going to be plenty of spoilers. The episode begins where the last episode ended, where a scarred Barry Allen talks to the current Barry. The scarred Barry says he outgrew Red and that this Barry is a time remnant. And somehow this Barry's remnant is a leftover from the Flash of 2024 that wasn't killed by Savitar, and Team Flash shunned him because it was a time aberration. This time remnant Barry decided to become a god, but he needs 2 more things to do it. This Iris has to die so future Barry will create him, and he will keep the other one to himself. And President Barry wants to kill himself, but Time Remnant Barry says cause and effect. Well, it doesn't affect time travelers that much because, hey, Eobard Thawne is still running around. Okay. What the frack?
Yeah, this scene, this opening of this episode, I think was designed to help us. And I don't want to say it made it worse, but it didn't clear up anything. It's still convoluted. It still seems a little silly. And I'm still left thinking that Barry's prosthetic doesn't look that good.
See, I thought it looked good in this scene. We'll talk about it later in earlier scenes. Maybe because this was a night scene. I thought it looked good.
Yeah.
It does not look good when he gets into brighter lit places. Okay, let's break this down because when I was watching this, and I had to pause it several times just to like make sense of it. Okay, so Bavatar, that's what I'm gonna call him. It might be easier. I don't know. I'll probably call him Time Remnant Barry just for the but okay, let's just call him Bavatar for now. So Bavatar is a time remnant of the final battle between the future Flash, the emo Flash of 2024, and Savitar. So future 2024 Barry created like 4 other time remnants. Savitar killed all of them but one. This is that time remnant who got pissed off when Joe West didn't hug him, ran back into time thousands of years ago and was like, I'm gonna be a god. Yeah? Right?
You know what would have been an easy way to do that better? Just make it the one from last season.
Yes! That's exactly what I've been saying. I think that's what everybody else is saying. If you would have just made this the season 2 time remnant,
it would have mattered.
Yes.
We would have had a connection to it. Now it just seems like this is comic booky in a bad way.
It's uber complicated.
Yeah.
It's so uber complicated. And it's so uber complicated because they do say that I've always heard that it's kind of a rule from Hollywood screenwriting as well, like that if you can't explain your premise in one sentence, your premise is too complicated.
Oh yeah, this one's way too complicated.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately for nothing because we know that this time remnant version of Barry is going away. Whether he's dying or he's not existing anymore, he will not exist past the end of the season. 2 episodes. Yeah. Like, so making it this complicated in the first place is to little effect. I didn't mean that as a pun to the episode title.
Maybe you did.
I didn't.
So the 2 Barrys fight, and they fight, and they fight more. Then Barry leaves the fight, and he goes and tells Team Flash about Savitar, and Cisco brings up Star Trek, and HR reveals that only Voyager exists on his Earth. And then Cisco confirms that this is the message that the Legends had about Barry Allen from the future, warning the past people about Barry Allen. Okay, I like that we finally got confirmation, because for a while we thought that maybe this message of the Legends was fake. Maybe this message about Barry had something to do with the crossover, but we get to learn here that this message had to do with Savitar. Okay, 1, I like it, we get confirmation, but 2, I kind of wish this Barry message had been like taken care of in the series that it was introduced, and that was Legends.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot that existed because it had so little impact on everything else.
And they made a big deal about it in the crossover. They really did.
They did, but then, like you said, it mattered not at all for anyone except the people on the Flash. So introducing it in Legends is frivolous. Kind of like making a time remnant from the 2024 is frivolous.
Well, let's talk about the most important revelation. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's go to the...
It's that Earth 19 only had Voyager, but what if Voyager was good?
Okay.
Like, what if it was, like, epically good?
What if Voyager starred Patrick Stewart?
No, like what if it was the same cast,
Oh, okay.
but it maybe
Written like Battlestar
a little
Galactica?
better handled than it was in Earth One.
I'm down with that.
Like that would have been. I wanted more of that. You could have scrapped everything else in this episode and just told me about Voyager.
Well, I think
I would have been down.
Again, I think we can all agree that is the most important revelation of this entire episode. Just like the secret jitters menu.
Lassos.
Star Trek Voyager, Earth 19 Star Trek Voyager. Our minds are like, what is that?
Yeah.
I need a little more. Sisko then explains that the time remnant is a closed loop, like the chicken and the egg, and this remnant traveled back in time and created all the legends of Savitar throughout time. Then Iris asks what remnant Barry was like, and Barry reveals that he was broken, and Iris says that Barry is not alone, he can beat Savitar. Sisko runs in then with the best idea ever. Sisko wants to stop Barry from making new memories so that Savitar can't remember anything they're doing. So it will stop him from being 2 steps ahead of everybody, and Barry agrees. They turn on the machine and Barry feels fine, but then he doesn't even remember who Barry is. He doesn't remember anything. Okay, first off, I want to say that the beginning moments of Barry walking out of this machine, I actually thought Grant Gustin did a fine acting job.
I agree. Yeah. I think he we're going to get into some problems with this episode real quick. He's not one of them. I think he does a great job in this episode.
No. It's funny because it's interesting because we're seeing so many different versions of Barry in this season. We've seen Future Barry, we're seeing Bavatar now. We're seeing Mindless Barry. I mean, I guess you could call Musical Duet Barry one of these versions. And it's interesting because I think Grant Gustin does a better job playing Barry Allen when Barry Allen is lighter.
I agree.
The darker they make Barry Allen, he kind of doesn't seem to have a handle on it as much. It's kind of like Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell, I see sometimes can't play lighter Oliver, but he can play darker Oliver really well. It's just the opposite.
Grant Gustin's just not that brooding, you know? It would be the same comparison with him and Ben Affleck. Like, they're not going to be able to do what the other person does. And Barry's gotten progressively darker, and it is nice to see him get to play a little more in the light, which is where I think he really gets a chance to shine. The premise...
Was that a pun?
It wasn't.
Okay.
I wish it was. The premise of this episode would have made a great Justice League action episode.
Ooh, yeah.
It would have been a great first 5 episodes of the season episode, but the fact that we're just doing an amnesia joke for 45 minutes?
And we'll get more into that.
What?
Yeah.
They're bad scientists.
Barry freaks out because he can't remember anything. And he says, should I be called Bart? Maybe I should be called Bart. Bart is cool. Iris shows pictures to Barry and he calms down. Then Barry talks to Wally. How do we know each other, Wally? And Wally's like, hey, we're brothers. And then Barry looks at his skin. Okay. Barry Allen, like doing the joke where he looked at Wally's skin for a second.
No, Grant does.
Oh, yeah.
He looks at his hand.
Okay, I'm going to say it right here. The funniest joke Flash has done in season 3.
And I want to commend everyone who was in this scene and crafting this scene.
They didn't shy away from it.
But they didn't shy away from it, but it could have gone over really poorly. But of course it would be the most obvious thing that would come to mind. And it's actually like it's really cute and it's really funny because it's innocent and that's how it's played as innocent.
Yes. HR and Tracy talk about the Speed Force bazooka, but Tracy can't make it work. And then HR gets her to calm down, and then they almost kiss. Then Cecile talks to Barry at the police station and reveals that Barry has to testify in a trial, but they reveal his amnesia to Cecile. Then Killer Frost starts talking to Savitar in the Savitar suit, and it strangles her because Savitar doesn't remember anything. Barry and Iris goof off at Jitters and reveal that Barry Allen has always loved Dragon Ball Z. Then Barry goes to court, he puts on some glasses that Julian types in so Barry can read text on the glasses, but then the glasses short out, and Barry is unable to elaborate on all of the technical details. Okay, first off, Barry Allen's a Dragon Ball Z lover, which is a character detail that I really dig, because we don't know that much about Barry, actually.
We know Bart is not a cool name, though. It's not. Barry's not a cool name either, so...
There is something in this episode that I want to bring up that I actually would love to see more, especially going forward in Season 4. So Cecile is... She's the DA, right? She's not a lower district attorney. She's not like an assistant. I think she's the DA.
I have no idea what her job is.
She's the DA.
I'm going to look it up.
She is a district attorney of some type. I'm pretty certain she's the DA.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, Barry, you're a CSI. You're like our lead CSI on this one case. He's not the lead CSI, but on this case he was. And we need you to testify in the trial. I like that Barry's job as a CSI comes more into this episode. It's something that I would like to see more because most episodes we just gloss over that Barry works for the police department. And this really brings it to the forefront because you know what? he probably would be testifying in a trial like every other week.
She is the DA.
She is the DA.
Call.
So I would like to see more and more and more of this, actually. I actually thought this was one of the best things of the episode.
You want Jesse L. Martin to return them to their Law and Order roots?
Yes. Dun dun. That's the Law and Order.
I know, but he was a cop.
What do you think about this?
I think the glasses gag again would have been really cute on Justice League Action. It's just like the Barry amnesia stuff is they do a lot of really obvious things with it. And you're right, revealing character details outside of the Flash is really interesting. Like, who knew Barry Allen was an otaku? Is it that surprising? Not really, but it's a fun detail. And again, fun as it is, should have been explored not in the last 3 episodes.
Well, let's get past that. Let's get past that.
I can't.
You've made your point. Let's talk about the scenes specifically here. And my point is, do you want to see more of him actually doing his job? Because Barry Allen's technically a cop.
I want him to quit his job because he doesn't do it.
Okay, what would you rather him do then?
I just work at Star Labs. Like, take a job at Star Labs, hire Iris. None of them do their jobs. Just hire everyone at Star Labs.
Okay. Killer Frost appears in Star Labs, and suddenly Wally doesn't have his speed, and she wants to bring Barry's memories back. Barry's at the apartment and reveals that he doesn't remember his parents, and then he kisses Iris, and he starts running super fast like he did in the pilot. Everyone then goes to Star Lab, and Frost reveals that Savitar has lost his memory, and that means no powers for Kid Flash. HR and Tracy talk, and then they kiss, and that inspires Tracy. And Killer Frost works in the lab as Cisco starts telling stories of Hartley and Ronnie Raymond to affect Caitlin, and Caitlin finishes the story. And Cisco reveals that Caitlin is in all of his favorite memories. All right, I'm going to put a ding, 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 ding. Look, the forgotten member of the Star Labs crew, Hartley, Pied Piper, mentioned this episode. I like that he's mentioned this episode. I thought Cisco telling the memory scene to Caitlin was very nice. I thought it was a nice little moment. And you know what? Kid Flash losing his powers does make sense.
Does it?
It does, because Savitar granted him his powers, but it only makes sense because you sort of have to go, Flash sometimes works on the Star Trek rule of time travel. And the Star Trek rule of time travel, what I mean by that is there are several episodes of Star Trek, Voyager, for instance, did this several times, where something happens in the episode, like Captain Janeway has a child, right? And then suddenly Captain Janeway doesn't exist. Well, the child would immediately exist, even though you would think that, like, wait a minute, the ripples of the timeline wouldn't be that fast. Well, it happened all the time in Star Trek, and apparently they're rippling it through immediately. So as soon as Barry loses his memories, Savitar loses his memories. If Savitar loses his memories, that means that he never did anything that he was ever supposed to do, and that means that Kid Flash loses memories. It's complicated, but it's a revolving timeline.
That creates a big question of if they do something in the coming episodes where Savitar never existed, if Barry never creates time remnants, does Wally still get to keep his powers because we're paying Keenan Lonsdale to show up to set?
It's very true, and that is
because he will.
But that's a very good point, and then it rolls all the way back to season 1. That when Eddie Thawne kills himself, and Reverse Flash blips out of existence, doesn't that mean the entirety of Flash season 1 didn't happen?
Yeah.
Apparently not, and that's why they go back to the Star Trek rule, where it's like they kind of pick and choose what they want to keep.
Yeah, but when you're asking me to follow logic like that, it becomes more and more difficult for me to lend credence to it because it is so choosy. Like right now, it is being super choosy for the premise of this episode.
What do you think about the Killer Frost moment?
I think this is heralding what we're going to be doing with Killer Frost next season. I don't think she's going to go full on Caitlin Snow. I don't think she's going to return to the kind of like wilting, that's not the word, I don't know, shrinking violet that she's been up to this point. I think she's going to keep the powers, and I think there's going to be more of a struggle between her and Cisco, but I think she is going to eventually come back into the fold. I thought it was a good scene.
Joe and Iris remark about how happy Barry, and it's the happiest Barry's been in a long, long time. And then Iris reveals that she doesn't want Barry's memories back. And Joe remarks that without those memories, Barry Allen is dead. Then the arsonist Heatmonger shows up in an office building and begins burning it down. Barry zooms out to help and splats right into a car. And Killer Frost wants them to zap Barry so that he can save everyone in the building. They zap him over radio waves and it doesn't work, and they need a spark to ignite his brain. So Iris tells Barry the story of how his mom was murdered and how little girl Iris held his head as he cried. And Barry remembers it all, and so does Savitar. Okay, I One, I really like the moment of Barry splatting into a car at super speed because that's what would happen to everybody at super speed, and especially without his memories he doesn't remember. I also really like the reveal of this memory that we've never heard about, that the first night that Barry Allen lived in Joe West's house, him and Iris kind of like cuddled, and she held his head as he like bawled his eyes out, as any kid would when his mom was murdered by a yellow man and glowing red eyes, a demon, as I like to call him. But that's,
You've never called him that.
I'm gonna call him a demon right now. He's the yellow reverse flash demon. I thought it was a great reveal, and again, that is, with all the crappy time travel gobbledygook and the problems of this episode should have been an episode earlier in the season, it's interesting because we're revealing these nice little character beats that I'm like, man, I wish these had been revealed to us earlier in the series. I wish we had seen this scene earlier in the series. But that being said, that being in that scene, I thought was a good little scene. What did you like from all this stuff?
I thought it was a well-executed scene. However, this is a trope that we've come back to a lot in The Flash, and it's pretty much Iris's sole utility on the show, is that when Barry's in a jam, Iris kind of whispers in her Disney princess voice, and then he loves her so much that everything works out in the end. So I think it was a nice moment. I think it was well acted, but like I wish they would give Iris something to like actually do other than just talking to the microphone. I think him not being able to run was really funny, and I think that this is also when we meet new speedsters, they kind of flash through their training because we want them to be as capable as possible, and getting little reminders that you're not always Barry Allen the minute that you show up with your speed powers is really cute.
Barry doesn't think he can do it all alone, and then Kid Flash shows up to help him, and they arrest Heatmonger. Killer Frost tries to leave Star Labs, and Barry stops her, and Julian reveals that he can fix her, and that he's like, I love you, Caitlin. Caitlin reveals that she doesn't love Julian, but for a split second in the elevator, she turns back to human. Barry and Iris kiss and make up as Tracy Brand reveals the speed bazooka, except that they will need over 3 terajoules to power this bazooka, and that's a lot of power. And then we see a shot of the power device from the Dominators, and King Shark is guarding it. Okay, Tracy Brand just kind of sat around in a lab with HR, making kissy faces, talking about coffee, building a bazooka. That's pretty strong weaponry there. But
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't.
You're not wrong.
She didn't go. She just like, it's bazooka. You know, grenades too light, I guess. I don't know. We get some nice little beats here. I actually really liked Julian's reveal of like, hey, Caitlin, I like you, and the split second of Killer Frost turning back to human very, very slightly. The last scene, I'm going to talk more about this last scene in my prediction because I have a very strong idea about what it is showing us, but at the same time, seems very weird and doesn't seem to match the rest of the tone. It's just kind of like, it's a direct setup for where we're going in the next episode without telling us what the hell we're looking at. I mean, I know what we're looking at. We'll get there. Stop with your damn comments. Just wait 5 minutes, Jesus. It seemed very tacked on, seemed very weird, didn't seem to match everything else. What do you think about everything we just talked about? The ending, the climax of the episode.
I really like that Tracy is able to do what they brought her here to do. I like that she's capable. I like her.
And she did it in one episode.
She did. Look at how great she is. She can do things and accomplish stuff, unlike pretty much the rest of Team Flash. I like her in HR story. I think it's really sweet. I'm really invested in that. So the Caitlin and Julian, I was like, that was well acted, but I don't care. It's going to be one of the things that they're going to use to anchor her to bring her back.
Yep.
And I did like the little mystique flash of the eyes. That's always a good effect, like a good shorthand to see that she's feeling things. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe they can get her to betray Savitar before everything goes south for Iris.
I think so.
I don't know. I think it's like 50-50
I
right
think so.
now.
I think so. All right, let's move straight into the rating of this episode of The Flash, based on a scale of 1 to 5 lightning bolts, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Ashley, with your best puns, what would you rate this episode?
I hopefully don't have any more puns for you.
You've been very punny this episode.
I think this episode is cute and sweet, but I reject the premise of it this late in the season, and I think it was a bad choice, so I'm going to give it 2 lightning bolts.
I think this episode, I totally agree. This episode...
I can't get over it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, clearly. This episode is too late in the season. Move this episode up 5 places, maybe even 10 places, and I think you have a 4-star episode.
I agree.
Because there's a lot of moments in this episode that really, really work. But I'm knocking it down a couple pegs simply for the fact that I'm with you. I'm like, hey, we finally know who Savitar is. Let's move this train along. We only got 3 episodes left, boys, and women that write on the staff. I'm going to give this a 3. This would have gotten a 4 at any other place in the season, but this close to the end, it's a 3. All right, so let's move to our predictions based on this episode. Ashley, what do we think is going to happen in the last 2 episodes of season 3 of The Flash?
I think, and I hope that Savitar is going to kidnap Julian and use him as bait against Caitlin.
Interesting choice, Julian.
Julian loves her.
Okay.
And because we know that we're setting up for the Killer Frost vibe showdown in the snow.
I think we're gonna see that this season.
So yeah. Oh, for sure. There's no way.
Probably the final episode.
There's no way we're not gonna have that. And I think Julian might be the impetus for that. Also because if not, I don't know how much he's got to do for the rest of the season.
Oh, Julian?
Yeah, I mean, just honestly, like, he's a fine character. Tom Felton's a great actor, but like, he's one of those characters who's sort of stunted right now. So I hope they give him something to do, and he could be a damsel in distress. I don't know, time up, whatever. What do you think is coming down the pipe for the Flash?
Well, I'm gonna talk about that last scene. We saw this last shot of Killer Shark walking around.
Killer Shark?
King Shark, excuse me. So many Ks.
You upgraded him.
I did. Killer King Shark walking around this facility, and there was Dominator tech from the crossover. I think that they showed that to us. I wish they hadn't shown it to us. I think we were looking at an Argus base. I think that is Dominator tech at the bottom of like Argus headquarters and Argus base somewhere. King Shark has now been recruited by Argus to guard it, and I think that the next episode is all about them figuring out how the hell they're gonna get that power source or breaking in somehow. But I think because it's an Argus thing, I think guaranteed we're gonna see Lila in the next episode.
What if he's the head of Lila's Task Force X?
Ooh, I'd be down for that. That'd be cool.
He's an expensive effect.
And again, everybody out there, when we do these predictions, we don't watch the promo for the next episode because it spoils too much.
Sometimes they spoil a lot.
They spoil a lot. So before you go to the comments being like, Lila's definitely in the trailer, you should have watched the promo. That's what I say to you, because we don't watch the promos. So, blah. So I'm predicting this without having seen the commercial. So, bang, 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 bang.
Wow.
Yep, so many bangs. Head on down to the comments and tell us which theory you think is right, mine or hers, and while you're down there, click subscribe.
And why not click on one of the videos that's popped up on the screen, and for more exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/Jawiin.
We'll see you next week, Flash. Oh, I forgot everything. Who are you? Too late in the season, right?
Difficult question.